It's time to spin the roulette wheel because we got some great major nature reveals.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfight, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today we've got some big announcements and reveals for Great Nature, as we did not only get two very interesting cards for the card of the day today, but we also got the live streams, which was centered for the entire Great Nature reveals. And we've got the new VR as well as the two support cards, and we also got a glimpse of the new special rarities we're going to get in the Mysterious Fortune. That's probably only going to be for Great Nature, and they're looking to be very fancy, so prepare your wallets for this one. So let's dive right into these cards, because we got 5 new Great Nature cards that are very interesting and worthwhile to talk about. And we start off with a new Great 1 that is Solution Tenrek, and its ability is Continuous Rearguard Circle. During the battle it attacked. If your drop zone has 25 cards or more, and this unit is on an additional rearguard circle, your opponent cannot call Great Zeros from his or her hand to the Guardian Circle. So this is a very interesting skill, because it is basically a Grand Blue card for Great Nature, and it does make sense, as we've seen with the previous support, and we also going to get with new support. We have this milling effect, where we want to mill top cards of our deck, and we get some random effect out of it. So by doing that, we effectively fill our drop zone to some extent, and with the new cards, we can do that pretty fast. Almost like how Grand Blue did that at the beginning of the reboot. But in general sense, having this on an Axle Circle, it's basically an 18k or 13k unit, and that isn't all that amazing, as it doesn't really hit for high numbers, and forcing our opponent they cannot call Great Zero, so also not Perfect Guards if they aren't a Protect clan. Might not do that as much unless we can power it up with other cards, and we do have cards like Binoculars Tiger that can power it up, so there are some ways, but not all that amazingly. However, we can use it in combination with Instructor Bison, so we can restand it, and then the guard restricts can be really annoying for your opponent to deal with, especially if we can power it up a little bit. But another major thing is, and you're gonna see it with the next card as well, it synergizes really well with Zoa, because this card combined with Zoa will still have the guard restrict effect on top of it. So it becomes a 99k unit, and your opponent cannot call Great Zeros from hand to the Guardian Circle. So if they run draw PGs as their PGs, they cannot PG that attack as well, unless they can use some very powerful G Guardians, or they have a Sentinel Protect marker in hand. I think it has some place in the new builds in Standard, and maybe even for Premium as well. But then we have the next card, and this new Grade 2 is probably not that amazing in Standard, but in Premium it can do a lot of work, as I'm talking about Observation Scriber Sunny Quill. And its skill is auto and rearguard circle once per turn when your Vanguard attacks. If your card was put from your deck into the drop zone this turn, cost counter +1 and stand this unit. So basically we have a rearguard that can restand itself with the same condition as Instructor Bison. And what I mean with that is, the moment that your Vanguard attacks, you can reset a unit. Bison does it for a counterblast on its own skill to reset something. This has the exact same timing when the Vanguard attacks, counterblast 1, and you can reset it. So it's basically an Instructor Bison skill without running the Instructor Bison as your Vanguard, only you can have this one as your target. In Standard, this isn't really that amazing in my honest opinion, because it's another Counterblast cost skill. And as of today, we don't have any counterchargers, and we have a lot more Counterblast skills revealed, so this could be really problematic for Great Nature to fully access their power potential. But in Premium, this can be nuts, because it can synergize with Zoa, as Zoa forces the unit that gains the power to not be able to be targeted by a unit's ability. That's why we could not combine it with Crayon Tiger, as Crayon Tiger selects one of your rearguards and restand it. This unit, however, restand on its own through its own skill without targeting itself. Meaning, you can put the Zoa effect onto this thing, turning it into a 99k attacker, or 99k 999 attacker, swing with it. If it hits, you win the game, or if it hits and deals damage, you win the game. But if they PG'd it or hard guard it, you can attack with your Zoa, counter +1, and restand it, and have a potential second try at it. So this case will make your Zoa turn not a PG or GG, it makes a double PG or GG. And that can be very devastating in certain scenarios, especially if you can push a lot of aggro in the early game as well. So depending on how the Great Nature decks are going to develop in Premium, this could be a very solid end game scenario for them. That they have a solid finisher that can give them games for maybe 80% of the time when they go into this combo. And that is something that they probably needed in Premium, because they were pretty solid in some regards, maybe not top tier levels, but they were solid enough to compete at some tournaments. But with this addition, maybe this is enough to hinge them over the edge. However, it still is a very late game combo, as it is on second stride, and with whole Neo Nectar Plant Token and Ezel still running rampant, this might be a little bit too slow at the current stage. But maybe when those two decks will be hit or they falter out of existence for some other apparent reason, then this could be the next thing, or at least something that makes the new benchmarks for entering in a premium meta defining tournament level, as you need to be able to deal with it. But that's basically the support reveals that were before the live streams. And now let's dig into the new cards that are going to be very interesting for standard, that will have some applications within standard, but maybe even in premium as well. So let's dive into these new cards. They're going to be the main cards around Isabelle. And we're going to start off with a new grid 1 that is proper of Black Jet, Cecile. And its skill is Auto Vanguard the Vanguard Circle. When placed, cost Soul Blast 1, put the top card of your deck into the drop zone and perform one of the effects below depending on the card's type. A normal unit, Soul Charge 1, and this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. A trigger unit, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards from your hand. So once again, we got this lottery mill mechanic back into Great Nature, and we're going to see it with the next couple of 2 cards as well. So we've got more cards beside the Tiger line that we got in the previous support card. So this will all synergize with other cards that we got in the previous set. So we've got more triggers for Barcode Zebra, as well as Tank Mouse and other cards that might interact with this mill mechanic, as like the Restender, for example, that we just talked about. It needs to have a mill to be able to use that skill, so this will synergize with that as well. However, this effect on its own isn't really that amazing. Being a Soul Blast is still pretty good, because as I stated before, Counter Blast is a little bit problematic in Great Nature, so relying on Soul a bit more is a better addition to your resource management capabilities. So at least you have more ways to trigger this mill mechanic to maybe stack up more power on your Barcode Zebra or that kind of stuff. Also, this card ability, by soul charging and either drawing 2 cards and then ditching 2 cards, will make you go through your deck pretty fast. That might be a bad thing, but at the same time, it does synergize with the grade 1 that we just talked about that won't have 25 cards in the drop zone. But the drawing 2 and ditching 2 is also a pretty effective cycle if you are searching for specific cards, either your right targets or combo pieces. This is very good effectively for that. Maybe in Premium, when you want to go into a first turn Zoa, you want to have a lot of heal triggers in hand so you can G-guard a couple of times. By searching this effectively, by scrying this much card into your deck, drawing into your heal triggers will become a lot more consistent than doing it without it. So it does have some merit. Also, be able to soul charge back 1 card and then gaining power, so it becomes a 13 beater for free, is also pretty nice, as you didn't waste any resources at that time. So either you have a very strong consistency engine card, or you get a 13k unit for free. I cannot complain with that. It's not maybe the strongest card in the bunch, but it is solid enough to do something in it. But then we got the grade 2 variant of this new archetype, and that is Scientist of Black Sheen Matilda. And her skill is very similar in condition-wise as its Auto Vanguard the Vanguard Circle when placed. So once again, like the grade 1, it's an on-place effect. Cost, Counter Blast 1, put the top card of your deck into the drop zone and perform one of the effects below depending on the card's type. A normal unit, until the end of turn, when your opponent would call cards from hand to the Guardian Circle for the battle this unit attacked, he or she must call 2 or more at the same time. And the other one is when a trigger unit is milled, this unit gets a critical +1 until the end of turn. So either you're going to have a 9k attacker with a crit, and depending on the booster or whatever is behind it, it can be a pretty okay column, not the strongest one of columns, but it has a crit on its own without doing stuff. Or it has the Battle Dory skill on top of it. So you can have a column with the Battle Dory skill. So maybe it's a 16k column, but they need to waste 2 cards to be guard with it. However, this on its own I am not really that fond of the skill because it's behind a counterblast skill as well as an on-place effect. The Grid 1 I can allow for how it works. It's not the most amazing cards of what it does, but it's at least a Soul Blast and it can refund itself, so it's fine. This, however, it costs you a counterblast, which is a very valuable resource in Great Nature, but also the payout isn't really that amazing. Either you get the Battle Door effect, not really that amazing in most scenarios, or you get an additional crit, but no power. So the crit is on a 9k unit that maybe on an Axel one is 19k, and if you're lucky you have your Binoculars Tiger that gives another 5k, so it's 24, but that will cost you another counterblast. So this one I'm very hesitant about its own merit. However, this card will have some effect with other cards in the mix, because if you combine it with Binoculars Tiger, if you hit a correct effect, they can only guard with Grade Zeros. If you then have the Battle Door skill onto this thing, that means your opponent is forced to waste 2 triggers onto a 17k column. That is major overguarding. So if you combine it with Binoculars Tiger and you're lucky in your both mills, this can be very threatening. However, you don't have to be lucky with your mills, because we have the following card, and that will make this card and the other one, and especially Binoculars and Binoculars, all the more powerful and so insane, as we're going to take a look at their new VR, as that is Holy Great Sage of Black Shadows, Isabelle. And Isabelle's abilities are pretty insane if you ask me, because her first ability is Continuous on Vanguard Circle. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you perform both of the effects for perform one of the effects. So what that means is when you're both on grade 3, just like the mechanic for Gancelot and Mordred Phantom, all your mill skills that are either when you choose a normal unit or you have a trigger unit, both those effects will activate no matter what you mill. Meaning, Binoculars Tiger will always, once it boosts, give the attack a Sentinel restrict, so you can no longer perfect guard, but you also force your opponents to only guard with triggers. That is pretty nuts, because that means they can only, and I mean only, guard with normal draw triggers, crit triggers, front triggers, and heal triggers. Yeah, then we have Binoculars Tiger. On attack, for a counterblast, you mill 1, then you draw 1 card, you can retire 1 rearguard of your opponent's side, and you give 3 units into your front row plus 5k power. And then we have the grade 1 that we just talked about. On place, Soul Blast 1, we Soul Charge 1, we give it 5k power, we draw 2 cards, and we ditch 2 cards. Alright, that's pretty fine. And then we have the new grade 2 where we just talked about. It will get, for a counterblast and a mill, it will get the Battle Door effect, and it will get a crit. Now suddenly, that becomes a very solid unit, because having the Battle Door effect with extra power isn't really that amazing, because the Battle Door effect in its own regard, usually typical, you want to have low power, so they're forced to overguard. But we never seen it with a crit, and that makes it even more dangerous, because they are forced to overguard, because they cannot just take the attack, as they take 2 damage. And that, combined with Binoculars Tiger, means they have an attack that's 17k on their face with a crit, and they are forced to put 2 triggers onto the attack, and they cannot use perfect guards whatsoever. And if they do not run the 5k draw triggers, they are forced to probably waste 20 to 30k guard, if not more. That is solid value that you're getting for this unit. And that's with only the cards we have revealed as of yet. Maybe we get more of these double mill mechanic roulette cards, or maybe we don't. It can be that this is everything. As with the previous support, we only got the Tiger lineup with 3 cards. In this case, we already have 3 cards with this new mill mechanic, so it can be only this. Her second ability is, although a Vanguard and Rearguard circle, so it works both ways, Leopold only works when it's on the Vanguard place. One place, cost, Soul Blast 1, put the top card of your deck into the drop zone and perform one of the effects below depending on the card's type. Normal unit, this unit gets power plus 15k until the end of turn. So it becomes a 27k beater on a Vanguard circle or potential on a Rearguard circle. So it's similar to how Leopold works with the power and the crit. Only this one get a little bit more power, I believe, because Leopold, I think, only got 10k and a crit. This one will just outright get 15k. But then we got the second part of this effect when we mill a trigger unit, and that is return the card put from the deck into the drop zone by this effect to your hand. So basically, we've got the tank mouse ability within the effect itself. If you combine that with her own continuous Vanguard skill, means for a Soul Blast, we give a unit that's potentially our Vanguard or Rearguard a plus 15k, and we get a card to hand. So Soul Blast +1 with extra power onto the field, that's pretty solid. So, and it works on the Rearguard circle as well, so it can combine with its own to have some solid beaters, and then we can have some very nice interactions with Monoculous Tiger that can then give the extra guard restricts to a strong beater. That combined with all the 5k powers that we can give away with Binoculous Tiger, you can see a lot of insane things happening right here. And we have other cards that can synergize with this whole thing, as you're not using all that much resources and we can refund some of these. So you can even then combine Tank Mouse to add more cards to hand in this whole process. This can be insane. The only saving grace to not make this overpowered is that the continuous effect is on Vanguard Circle only, meaning we cannot, and I think thankful, because if they could, it would be nuts, combine this with Leopold. Because if Leopold got both effects, yikes! But this is not all they revealed in this set. Yes, it's the only card reveals that we got. However, they also revealed the new high rarity cards for this set as well. And yeah, those are these cards. They're looking to be pretty insane, if you ask me. These artworks are pretty nice, these Asuka cards for Great Nature. And I think every Great Nature player that wants to bling their deck, yeah, their wallets are currently crying, because I don't think they're going to be cheap at all. And we have a lot of cards. There's 7 of these. We got the entire right chains of the previous sets, and this set, including the draw trigger PG. So, yeah, this could be a pretty nice addition for your deck and to fully bling it out. So, yeah, Great Nature players, I think you're happy with these information drops that we got today, as there's a lot of interesting stuff for as well premium players as well as standard players. But that's about everything for this update video. I think you are very pleased with the results this week. Usually at the end of the video I blabber about the summary of the whole video, but I think a lot of people already know what I talked about in the video. So I think this segment is ideal for channel updates or tidbits, information to maybe some viewers that aren't up to speed. Maybe they don't follow me on Twitter or they haven't seen the community post on the channel, so I can use this segment to convey that information. So for this video, I want to explain or clarify for some people that might be confused why the content is dropping on the channel, and what I mean with that is not the quality per se, but the quantity of set videos. And the reason for that is I'm currently working an insane amount of hours for a family company, because my father is currently touring in Asia. He is having the time of his life, but because he's doing that, I now need to run the family business. So yeah, that's taking a lot of time off my hands, meaning I'm losing time that I could put into these videos. So a lot of these video projects are currently on hold or at a very slow pace, because making these videos can sometimes take 5 to 15 hours of video, and I don't have the times right now on my hand. And this will continue for a couple of more weeks, at least until the 15th or 16th of November, because then he will return from his trip. And depending on how things will go, I either will continue working on the company as this amount of hours, or I can at least dial it a little bit back so I have more time on my hands to do this for you guys. So at least bear in mind with the slow amount of videos that are currently going on the channel, I'm working on my ass off to make as much content as possible, but I'm still one human being and I have so much hours of wakeness that I have available to my body. So keep that in mind when I might be maybe 3 to 4 days without a video and then suddenly I have 2 videos ready, but keep it in mind for the slower pace of content stream on the channel right for these coming weeks. But that's basically everything for this video. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters for making this video possible, especially in these couple of weeks that makes everything a lot harder. You guys are pretty amazing. But of course, everybody watching this video, liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell button to be updated, you guys make a difference all the more. But if you too want to support a little bit more directly, then you can head over to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and become a patron today. And maybe I can even hire an editor, so I can make more videos a lot more consistent without overtaxing my own body. So, but with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one.